The first thing I want to talk about, to be honest, I saw a bunch of clips about people saying AAU is ruining basketball, and you know it's all AAU's fault that kids don't know fundamentals or they don't care about fundamentals. They just want to do highlights, all this shit. And I really started to think, and somebody left a comment on one of those posts, and they said it's not their fault because they only practice like once or twice a week. They said high school practices every single high school, like in school, they practice every single day. And so their point was it's not really AAU's fault. It's what are they doing 5 days a week at these high schools, when it comes to practice and stuff like that. And it really hit me. I was like, damn, that makes so much more sense because the things that you learn at your high school is pretty much what you're going to execute in the summer. And so if these kids don't know fundamentals and they don't know, proper off ball defense or, how to move with and without the ball and certain things like that, it's not the AAU coach's problem or the program's problem. It's the high school's problem. They practice high school every single day, 5 days a week. And so if that's the case, which like the logic makes sense to me, why aren't we holding the high schools accountable? What are they doing 5 days a week at school? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you learning in practice? Are you just scrimmaging the whole time? Are you just running plays the whole time? Like, and if that's the case, I don't think that's an ideal way to go about it. You know what I mean? I really think, and it's hard because coaches want to win. So they're like, okay, we're only going to focus on winning. We're not going to focus on development. We're not going to focus on all these other things. But it's like, y'all, the people that coach high school is like, you guys get them for more time than anywhere else, more than their trainer, more than their parents, more than their AAU team, more than any camp that they're going to go to. The most time they spend practicing is at the high school that they go to. And so if that's the case, it's like we should start holding those coaches accountable for what these kids are learning when they come into the summer and they don't know shit about off-ball movement or, defense or getting out of a trap. It's like, shouldn't you be being taught that at school? And it's like, that makes so much more sense, And so I think that's more of like, where I'm going to aim a few of my pieces of content. I'm not going to like shit on everybody, but I'm going to bring an approach that's, still they should be developing these players because I think a lot of coaches believe that you can't develop and you can't win at the same time. And I'm like, okay, if you actually teach your guards how to get out of a trap and you teach your center how to help or play help defense without fouling, your team will win. Like you'll play better. So you don't have to choose between winning and development. I think that's just a misconception that a lot of people just run with because, they're too lazy. That's just what it is, So that's my take on that. And then when it comes to, and I'm taking questions too for anybody that has questions. I'll talk about anything. Like even if it's not basketball related, I'll still do questions, because I think it's we don't always have to be serious. We don't always have to like talk basketball only just because I'm a basketball page. But I really wanted to bring that up. But then also, I think another thing I wanted to talk about, I meant to write my agenda, but I just totally spaced it. One thing that I really wanted to bring up is like what matters when it comes to development. And I think what matters when it comes to development is experience. Like a lot of people take experience for granted. You know what I mean? Because I think back about, okay, who are all the guys that went to the NBA? And it's always like, oh yeah, when I was 15, the NBA player from my city used to come to our open gyms and like I'd play against him. And then it was like, oh yeah, my cousin was in the NBA or my dad or like so many random players in the league where they literally mentioned that their dad was in the NBA. And I was like, I had no fucking idea. Like Jabari Smith Jr., no clue until he had that clip with LeBron. It's like, oh yeah, he played against my dad. And it's like, oh, his dad was in the NBA. Oh, your dad was in the NBA too. And your uncle and, your cousin and like all of these things. And it's like the connection points of that. But then it's also, they get to play against these people. Like, there's a reason there's so many NBA players from the same cities. Like Seattle is known for creating NBA players. LA, like, so many other players. I'm just blanking. Dallas, just like these big cities where, the competition level is so high because there's so many people to where it's like the better you are, the more outlets there are to move up in competition. And so in a small town, you don't really have, you can only go so high in a small town to where it's like, okay, I ran out of competition. You know what I mean? because it's like, okay, you dominate your middle school team, and now it's like, okay, my team's not good enough. Let me find an open gym. Okay, I go to this open gym. I'm better than everyone here. Okay, let me find another open gym where I can play against older people. Okay, I'm better than everybody here. And there's never, like, in those small towns, there's not a lot of pros that come back and play with kids that are in high school. Like, it's rarely, at least where I live, like, there's not a lot of pros, that play with high school players. It just does not happen. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, Jamal Crawford got to play against Doug Christie when he was young, right? A lot of you don't know, like, Nate Robinson was Isaiah Thomas's mentor. And so Nate Robinson was in the league, and he worked out with Isaiah Thomas when Isaiah Thomas was playing for Washington or when he was a senior in high school. And so it's like, that translation is so easy because you can just feel it. Like, you're right next to the person. It's like, okay, this person was in the NBA, and I get to work out with this person every single day. You know what I'm saying? So I can just feel that energy of like, okay, if I stand next to you every day and I can do the things that you can do, all I got to do is just go get the experience, go get recruited. And then the networking that happens in those gyms too, like, all that stuff is so important. And I think, like, I'm from Nebraska, so you can't name an NBA player from Nebraska. The only one I know is Fred Hoiberg, and he coaches Nebraska right now. I don't know anybody else. You know what I'm saying? That's grew up here. And he didn't even grow up here. He went to high school in Iowa. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like Harrison Barnes is from Iowa. Like, there's a lot of different players from Iowa, but like, nobody grew up here and got to actually make it to the top. And so for me, like, what my goal is I want to try to help some kids make it there and then bring them back. So then it's like our community can see that there's bigger things to be done than to just go D1. I think a lot of players think going D1 is enough. And it's not even like people are from here and they go D1 and then they perform and then they're one of the best players. It's like that barely even happens. You know what I'm saying? And, the thing that I see in the youth from where I'm from is just like everybody just wants an offer. Everybody just wants to go D1. It's like, okay, do you want to be the best in college, or do you just want to go and sit on the bench? Like I've seen so many times through my entire life. You know what I mean? And so I think our standard is very, very low in our community, and that's why we perform the way we do. And I don't see why we can't be as good as people from Iowa. They're one state over. We go to Iowa tournaments and play against them. Like, why can't we be like them? Why can't we be like people from Kansas? Why can't we be like that? You know what I mean? And I think it's just a disconnect between standard and, what our possibility could be. For me, I think the sky's the limit. I see every player and I'm like, oh, you could be a pro, you could be a pro, you could be a pro. Like, I literally think that in my mind for so many players, and it's just like, I wish I could get them to see it instead of thinking I just want to go D1. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of players, they want to go to the NBA, but it's a lot, they don't want to say it out loud. They want to be professionals. They don't want to say it out loud. But it's like in other cities, it's real to them. So they can say, I want to be an NBA player, and know that somebody from their city actually did that. But for us, we don't have that. And so it's like somebody has to break that mold to be like, okay, he did it. Now we can do it. It's like the 4 minute mile thing. It's like nobody was running 4 minute miles until the first guy did it. Now everybody can do it. Like that shit is real. It's just, you have to see it to believe it. And I think, that's going to be my goal, is to get us to see it. And then we can believe it. Because I believe it can happen for a lot of players. It's just they need help. And they need to know that somebody older than them believes. Because it's easy for them to believe. It's easy for their friends to believe. But it's like, do their coaches actually believe that they can make it? There's no coaches out here being like, I could think you can be an NBA player, I'm going to help you. That doesn't exist in our culture. So I think that's where we're at right now. But yeah, let me answer some questions, man. Let me scroll back. No, I didn't watch the Cowboys game. I don't really watch the NFL that much. Okay. So when you said, Chilltown, what's up? When you're developing, aren't there going to be growing pains? I think there are, but I think, there's going to be pains regardless if you're not developing, because for me, I think, okay, if your team can't handle a press, or if your player keeps getting in foul trouble because they haven't been taught to understand, like, keep their spacing on defense and different things like that, and not hitting them with their arms, then it's like you're going to endure the pain of just losing in a ceiling that you're going to perform at. But for me, like, if I can teach, because I just think about it in a logical sense, right? If I can teach my point guard to be better under pressure and to get better at shooting, that automatically makes my team better. You know what I'm saying? And so I wouldn't say there's growing pains. I think I think it's just a lack of patience. You know what I mean? Like I'd sacrifice 2 games in order to be better for the tournament time. Like that's how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? And I think coaches want to win every single game instead of thinking long term of like, okay, if I can get our team to perform like this, we're going to be a winning team, even if we struggle for the first 5-10 games of the season. And I think I'm like a championship or bust type of coach. And so when I coach my teams, like in the summer, or when I coach, fifth grade, or when I coached middle school, or whatever it was, in my mind, it's like I want to win. And so it's like for me to win, okay, if I have a player, I'm like, you got to be better on rebounding. So we're going to work on that. You have to be better at catching and shooting. So you're going to work on that. You know what I'm saying? But I balance that with also working on team concepts of like, we got to execute our offense, right? We got to figure out the zone stuff. Like, and so I think I try my best to balance both because I know that they're both impactful. And I think a lot of coaches struggle with that because, it's hard. Like to be honest with you, like developing is hard. It really is. And so I see why some coaches don't want to develop or they don't want to waste their time on it. But I think, especially if on a high school level, if you coach high school and under, I think that's a lot more than important. I could see college where it's like, okay, I don't have time to develop you. Like this is college. Like we got to go. You know what I'm saying? But even then, even if I was in college, like I would take my time to develop some players, to develop my team, to make us better for the long run. And then when tournament time comes around, we'll be 5 times better instead of just, we figured out our ceiling. Now we just got to play at our ceiling. It's like, I want us to continue to grow the entire time. And, I think there can be a balance in that. It just there has to be more conversation around it. And it has to be, I think people need to see how that's done. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be my goal, especially in the summer, is like, I'm going to film my practices this summer for my AAU teams. And I'm going to show people like how I coach practices. And it's not as if like I'm the end all be all or I'm a know it all or I know everything, but it's like I want to show that you can do both. Because for me, I wanted to be a coach first. You know what I'm saying? Like my whole thing was I came in this game as a coach. I just fell into player development, And so that's going to be my goal, is like showing that you can do both of those things at once. And then I think that's going to help, the coaching world as a whole, that they can see, oh, we can work on skills and drills and footwork and I can teach these players how to do certain things, and we can also work on our offense and scrimmage and do team stuff. So that's going to be my goal going forward, is like kind of show people that that is actually possible, because I truly believe that it is. The NBA does it. I think it's just easier for them because they have so much time. It's like they have skill coaches and then they can do their team stuff. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. How do you feel about being unranked in high school? I think being ranked isn't as important as it seems, but it helps up front. And so my thing is like, if you're good, at some point, if you have the help, you need a mentor, you need somebody that's like pushing you in the right direction, giving you good advice. But if you're good enough, like you'll figure it out no matter where you go. And so, being unranked, it has its pros and cons. I think, just the cons is you don't get in the door right away, because there's plenty of players that were top 150 that just didn't pan out. That's real life. And there's plenty of unranked players that became NBA players. And so I don't think there's a perfect way. I think it's just you got to understand yourself. And if you want to be ranked, you have to go to where the ranked people play. I think it's that simple. It's like you got to start moving up the ladder of like dominate your area first and then dominate the oldest group. So if you're 15 and you're dominating 15 in your area, you got to dominate 17s in your area. Like that's what I would try for. And then once you get really good at that, then it's like, okay, let me search these other places. Like, how do I get my foot in the door on a EYBL? You know what I'm saying? How do I get my foot in the door on an Adidas circuit? How do I get my foot in the door at these camps or around these players, or, whatever it is? You got to kind of figure that out. And I think that's why the mentor is so important, because they'll tell you how to do that. I didn't know how to do that when I was young. I didn't even know how to get to college when I was young. I just thought, work my ass off and they're going to find me. That shit, like I'm telling y'all right now, that doesn't exist. That's not real. Working by yourself in the gym and just grinding it out and they'll find you. No, like you need to ask these people around you, like for help. Ask for help, genuinely. That's how I see it, bro. Why don't I post drills? Because I think I made a video on this. I don't post drills because I believe that 9 times out of 10, they're not really productive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think for one, the proof is in the film. Like, that's what I'm always going to say, that you could just watch the film and see the technique, and then you just do the technique over and over and over and over. And so that's what I think it is. It's like, okay, if you want to do a tween cross move, it's like, do that 1,000 times, and I bet you have a really good tween cross. And then you try it against people. And so it's infinite tweaking of your game. And, you know, I think if you're like I always say, if you're too creative with your drills, you're just not playing enough basketball. And it's because, like, if there's a defender in front of you, you're going to have to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I train students and they're struggling against one kid and they're like, I can't get my shot off, I'm like, you got to, you know, I tell them, like, okay, you can't pick the ball up. If you guys are this close, they're going to block it. So you got to figure out how to separate. It's like, once you figure out how to separate, it's like, okay, that worked for me. And then you just keep tweaking it and tweaking it. And then you just watch the best players in the world and be like, okay, they got separation by doing this move. I'm going to try this move. It's about trying it. And then, like, once you get good at it, the thing that works for you in the game is your drill. You know what I'm saying? And so if I can get to a spot and I can shoot a pull up and it never gets blocked and I just can't make it, that's my drill. So when I go practice, I practice going to that spot and pulling up and making it. So then in the game, I already know how to get it off. It's just, I've now trained myself to make it. And so that's how I see training. I don't think you need 1,000 drills. Like, are drills important? I think so. You know, there's certain things that you gotta learn through that, which I think is just, like, my drills are built off the game. So the thing that I teach players is like, okay, there's certain ways to beat your defender. So then the drill just becomes, we're going to work on this move that helps you beat a defender. And then if the defender cuts you off, I'll tell you the counter to that. And we work on the move and we work on the counter, and then you play. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a lot more simple than people make it. I think drills are more for show than for anything. But it's hard for me to decipher the whole thing, you know, in one talk. I just think your best approach is watch the best players in the world do it, and then whatever works for them, try it and see if you can at least get the shot off, or at least get the space, or at least get to the rim trying that thing. Make or miss. Just, can you get to the spot that you need to get to and get a shot off? Yes or no? Once that becomes a yes, then it's like, I need to practice that so I can make it. Like that, you got to reverse engineer the game. People are going from drills to the game. I go from game to the drill. That's the difference. And I think that works, you know, really well. When did you know you weren't going to the NBA? I've never not thought I was going to go. Never. Because the way my career went was, I thought, at least, like, in my mind, I think anything is possible. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this didn't work out, but if I go to this school and then I go to this overseas thing and then I grind it out and then I meet with these people and then I can just, like, ladder it up, right? So no matter where I'm at, even me right now, if, like, you were to ask me, do I believe I could go? I'd be like, okay, if I work on my body for the next 6 months and then I go to, like, some exposure camps and I try out, and then, you know, I do really well over there, and then I make the connections to maybe get, like, a tryout in the league. Maybe I'm in the G League for a little bit, and then, you know, I get called up or something like that. Then I can try. Like, I can still make it realistic for me in my mind right now. So there was never a point that hit me to where it's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to make it. Because I always felt as if I was good enough. And the way I thought I was good enough was like, I've never been in a position to where I'm playing basketball and anybody can stop me from doing what I want to do. Have people made it difficult? 100%. But in a real game setting, I've never been, like, shut down. Like, I can't do anything. I can't get a shot off. I can't produce. I can't play defense. Like, that's never happened to me. So I've never, and I'm saying that having played against a lot of overseas professionals and a lot of Division I players. Like, I'm coming at it from that perspective. And so it's like, I've never been in a situation where I felt as if I was not good enough. It's just like, after my knee injury, I played college and it didn't go well. And I didn't have a mentor. Like, nobody was telling me good advice of, like, okay, this is how you got to move. This is how you got to make the connections. This is what you got to do, right? And so on my own, I was just like, okay, this school didn't work out. And after I realized I wasn't changing my coach's mind, you know, when he basically just stopped suiting me up and didn't give me a chance to play, I left. I went to another school and I was ineligible. And so I dropped out. And then I was like, okay, I need to fix my jump shot before I tried, like, all these other things. So I fixed my jump shot. And then I think, so I was going to go to, like, Spain, then I hurt my knee. So then I was like, okay, let me get healthy again, yada, yada. And then I hurt my foot. Or no. Then COVID hit. That's what it was. So I hurt my knee and then I got healthy and then COVID hit. So I couldn't travel. So I was like, okay, that's kind of out of the question. So then that took 2 years to blow over. Like, a lot of people don't really realize that. It was like 2 years. That was like a 2-year thing before you could like do a bunch of stuff again. And so after COVID, I was like, okay, let me get my body right. Let me try to go to these things and get right and all these things. Then I hurt my foot, and that hurt my foot last year, so, and then after that, I was just like, okay, I'm really just going to chill and see if my foot can heal itself or do whatever. And so since then, it's been more of like, do I actually want to give it a go to attempt it or not? It's not in my mind. I think, I don't want to say I could, but I know it's be very, very difficult from like where I am if I actually wanted to make the pursuit of like, okay, let me get my shit up. Let me get in this daily routine. Let me get my body right. And then let me just find the lowest barrier to entry. Like, this is the thing. A lot of people want to go pro and they want to go to the NBA, but they're not willing to start at the bottom. This is why I always say, for me, if in my mind I was like, okay, I've seen players get signed at 31, 32, whatever, and play in the NBA. Like, remember Andre Ingram or like Pablo Prigioni was like 30 when he first went to the league. Sabonis was like 29 when he first hit the league. And so it's like, I'm 30 right now. I'm 31 right now. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I started at the bottom, how long would this take? Like, even if I didn't make it, I think I can make it real enough in my mind to where it's like, okay, there's a chance. You know what I'm saying? That's just like, I think that's the type of mindset that more people need. And like, yes, a lot of people from the outside are going to think, man, that shit isn't unrealistic. Yeah, that shit ain't happening. And like, I could say that, you know what I'm saying? If I stepped outside of myself and looked at my situation and be like, that shit'll never happen. But it's like, if you don't have a certain level of belief, no matter how it navigates, if you got to go to another country for 3 years and you got to play in the G for 2, and then you get called up and one day you're there. It's like, if you don't have that level of belief to think somehow it can happen, it's probably not going to happen. You have to build out a real map in your mind to make it possible. Like, I remember Terrence Ross, he said the funniest thing. He was like, man, I thought I was going to go to college for 4 years, go overseas and get a shot at the NBA. And this fool, I think he got drafted and played forever, right? And like John Stockton said the same thing. He was like, I just wanted to get to a tryout. You know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted was a tryout. All-time assist leader. And so it's like, even the greats or people who play for a really long time, even sometimes they're unsure. They're just like, okay, I just need to do these things to get there. You have to have that mindset for your goal. It's like, it doesn't matter how it looks or how it goes. It's like, if I can navigate these types of paths, and it's not up to you to how it's going to happen, but you just have to make it real in your mind enough to start the process of going. Once you can do that, then it's like, then you just, take a shot at it. It's that simple. How should I train reacting to defenses? Play one-on-one, bro. That's the best advice I can give you. Play one-on-one, bro. It's so hard to go pro. It is. But it's like, do you want to try or not? You know what I'm saying? I always say, like, a lot of things are doable. A lot of things aren't easy. A lot of people mistake that just because it's doable, they think it's automatically easy. No, does not work like that. So you just have to understand what you're getting yourself into. So if you sign up to be like, I want to be an NBA player, you have to be prepared to train for 13 straight years before that day happens. Right? A lot of people don't want to do that. So a lot of people don't know what game they're playing. They're just, I want to go to the NBA. But then it's like they have run into one roadblock and they fucking fold. How can I get recruited if I have to play center at 6'6"? I think you have to find a place where you can play the wing. Like, legitimately, you have to go search out places. First, you have to develop the skill of that. So, like, the best way is just, like, work on wing stuff all the time and work on guard stuff all the time and play open gyms in a guard manner. Like, don't let people talk you into playing the post at pickup. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, it's good to learn post stuff. I think a lot of people are just like, I never want to play the post. But it's like, for me, I play the post, and that shit helped me tremendously. Like, when I would drive against quick guards and we end up on the block together, I'm scoring because I played the post for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? And so it's helpful for you, but if you want to develop more as a wing, you have to find teams that will let you do that, like, genuinely, and like tell the coach or have your dad or your mom or whoever like helps you get to all these games and tournaments, have them tell the coach, like, you are a wing player, but then you have to show that you are a wing player. So it's both asking and telling the team this is what you are, and the second thing is proving that's what you are. You know what I'm saying? Those two things go together. How should I feel about these people who say I'm trash, even though they only played in middle school? Ignore them. Ignore them. Like the thing, you gotta ignore the bullshit, bro. Everybody that's ever played professional basketball has been told at some point that they are trash. I promise you. You know how I know? Even though I didn't play professional basketball, I've been told many times that I'm trash. But then there's also people who say you're good. There's people who genuinely come up to you and be like, man, you're good, man. Like, I seen you playing, yada, yada. There's random people I never met in my life, never had a conversation. And then, like, they vouched for me when I was in high school. Like, I heard that story of, like, there was one, I think it was the softball coach, told the varsity coach at my high school to, like, basically give me more minutes and give me a chance to actually play. And he obviously didn't listen that much, but like the fact that somebody I never really had a real conversation with would vouch for me based off seeing me play, like, you got to focus on that more than the people who say you're garbage, because you're going to get both. There's people who comment on my post all the time who say I don't know jack shit about basketball. Okay, great. Like Jay Williams commented on one of my posts and was like, you don't know shit. Okay. Like, I would argue with Jay Williams, even though he was an NBA player. I would still have argument and be like, okay, what don't I know? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not going to take anybody's word for it. It's like, let's have a conversation. Bring proof. Like, maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe you say something that's like, and the thing about when people say you're trash or whatever, you have to look at what they're saying. So if they're like, man, you're garbage as fuck on defense, if somebody says something like that, think about it and see if it's real and be like, damn, maybe he's right. Okay, let me work on my defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have told me I'm slow, and I was like, thought about it, and like, okay, damn, I am kind of slow. Oh shit, I am out of shape. Let me get my ass in shape. Let me get faster. Let me work on my footwork. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, think of it as them trying to help you and see if what they're saying is objectively true. You have to be able to look at yourself objectively and assess whether the criticism is correct or not. You know, don't just take it as hate. What tip for better accuracy when shooting? Form shooting. 100%. That's the thing. Does Kyrie still practice his fundamentals, or NBA players in general? This is a really good question. Yes, bro. Like, I posted a thing with Kobe, and I think it was Mark Stein. I wish I could remember the name. He said that he asked Kobe to watch him work out one day, and that he went to the workout and Kobe was doing like the most basic shit ever for 45 minutes, like fundamentals. And the thing that you guys don't understand, and I'm going to post the clip of Kyrie saying when he played in the finals that the thing he had to rely on were the things that he was taught when he was like 10 or 11, when he was young, the fundamentals. Like, it was so hard to play in that finals that he had to figure out how to do this shit. Like, how do I win? How do I succeed? And he went back to the fundamentals and the basics. And that's how he was being able to score against the Warriors, was just like, let me be fundamental. You know what I'm saying? Let me just rely on the things that I have been taught. And yes, like, when you got to understand, it's like the base, what do you call it? It's the foundation to your house. And so if you build a shitty foundation, the house might look amazing, which is all your moves and all these things. But it's like, okay, when the fucking storm hits, is your house going to fall apart? That's the thing that people don't understand. It's like, when you don't have fundamentals, it doesn't show up against easy competition. It shows up in the most important part of basketball. Like, this is what I'm trying to tell. It shows up. You want to know why? When the NBA playoffs happen and the role players drop off and the stars go up, it's because the stars have better fundamentals. When it's super fucking hard, your fundamentals have to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? You have to know how to hold the ball in a double team so you don't get stripped. That's super hard in the playoffs versus a playoff team rather than the Pistons, in week 3. That's what it is, bro. And so a lot of people don't like to hear it. A lot of people don't believe it's true. But it's like the best players in the world have always had the best fundamentals. Tim Duncan's nickname is literally Big Fundamental. He's a top 10 player of all time. Kobe is the most fundamental basketball player of all time. He's a top 10 player of all time. So is Michael Jordan, one of the best fundamental basketball players of all time. So is Steph Curry. And so once you start to realize, okay, the best players ever have the best fundamentals, that's when you actually believe it. You know what I'm saying? But I think you got to hear from them. They say it and I post it, but it's like a lot of people just don't want to believe that it's actually true. So in the thing about it too is like all the creative stuff that they do, they can only do those things because their fundamentals are so good. And so when your basics are so good, you can do whatever you want because you're not going to mess it up. Like, that's the trick, I played plenty of people that And the thing about it is when you have fundamentals, the thing is when you play against other people, you can see how bad theirs are. When yours are really good and you play against other people, you can see how bad theirs are. Like I've had those experiences of playing somebody one on one. I'm like, this dude has no fundament. He knows nothing about attacking. He knows nothing about body language. He does nothing about triple threat. Like he just doesn't. His pump fake is garbage. And so it's like you could just shut that player down because their fundamentals are bad. But somebody with good fundamentals, they're impossible to guard. It's just that's just what it is, bro. So that's a long ass answer for yes. The best players in the world practice their fundamentals every single day. That is the thing that makes them the best in the world. What should a high school player expect from their coach in regards to recruiting? From your high school coach, I think what I would do is just have conversations with them and just be like, yo, I want to get recruited. Like, how do I do these things? And if they help you, they help you. If they don't, then you have to ask elsewhere. But I think it starts with the conversation. I don't think you should expect anything. Expect nothing. My coach didn't do shit for me as far as recruiting. He didn't help me do anything. And so expect nothing, but ask. Ask without expectation. Just ask for information or help. I work on shooting 1 dribble and 2 dribble pull-ups, but in a game, it's like I forgot about it. It's probably because you haven't done it against people enough. The more you do it against people, the easier it will be to translate it to a game. How to get more playing time as a shooter who comes off the bench cold. I think you got to warm up before the game. So before the game, I'm going to some random gym and I'm going to get shots up. That's just what I do. So that's what you should do. And do other things. Don't think that shooting is the only thing that's going to get you on the court. Like play defense, rebound, play smart. Like those are the things that actually get you on the floor. Once you can do those things, then you'll just be able to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter if you can shoot if you can't do shit else. If you can't play defense or you don't understand concepts, you're screwed anyway. How to get recruited if you go to a school where nobody knows. Go to my YouTube and watch the video on how to get recruited step by step through social media. I made up an entire plan. Follow it step by step. If you're good enough, it'll work. What's the best thing to do when injured and still want to get better? I think be patient. You know what I'm saying? Do what you can do, but also just be patient. Like there's nothing, you're injured. You know what I'm saying? Just do the work, do the rehab that you're supposed to do. Don't think that doing extra rehab is going to help you. It's not. It's just do the things that are required in order to get back to playing and just stay patient, keep watching basketball, and just do what you can do. I don't know what your injury is, so I can't tell you what to do, but just do the best you can and don't rush the process. How many shots should I get up a day? I'm 16 and I work out by myself. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just, it depends on how good you want to be. I always say the thing you want, like if you say, okay, it depends. If you say, how much should I do? That's based on where do you want to go career-wise, how good you are right now, and your circumstance. Like there's no right or wrong. It's just like, okay, I want to be an NBA player, but I'm 10 years old and I live in North Dakota. Okay, you got to do different shit than somebody that has that same exact want and they live in Miami and they're 17. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have a perfect answer for you. It's just like it depends on your goals. Do as much as you can. And put yourself in situations to get better. Because the thing about it is like the shots aren't the only thing that you need. Because I have players that's like, okay, they can shoot the shit out of the ball, but now they need more experience than practice. They need to play against people more than they practice now. There's some people who have all the experience in the world and they have no fucking skills, and it's like you need to practice more than you play right now. You know what I'm saying? So it always changes depending on where you're at in the moment and who you are. That's just what it is. And so it's hard for me to give that without having known you and having known like what your situation is and like all these things in depth, Best ball handling workout when you're by yourself. That's hard to answer as well. It's just like, I always say fundamentals, and just like there's only 5 crossovers. There's in and out, front cross, between, behind, spin. I'm probably forgetting one. There might be another one, but it's just like do those in combination all the time. As hard as you can, as fast as you can, maybe sometimes work on pace, go slower. Like there's no perfect workout. I think that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand. There is no perfect workout. There's just working out and figuring it out as you go. You know, you can learn certain things, be like, okay, I worked out with this person, this is the workout they did. Okay, let me try that workout. Okay, let me try this, let me try that. And then you start to figure out things that work based on results. You have to go based on, okay, what am I doing? What is the result that I'm getting from this? Like, this is why playing is so important. If you practiced for 3 weeks and then you play and you're starting to see progress, it's like, okay, I wasn't making this shot 2 weeks ago, but since I practiced this way, now I'm able to make this shot. Now you know what to practice in order to get the result that you want. So practicing and playing go hand in hand. It's like playing lets you see if your training's working. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, like, it wasn't, no one ever really told me how to train. I just tried so many different things. I went to so many camps. You know, I learned different types of drills or whatever it was. And then I started to see the results. And so it's like, okay, I practiced this shot for weeks, and now I'm starting to make this shot. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you have to reverse engineer the game. Like I keep saying this, it's like, what are the things that you struggle with in the game? Practice that exactly. So if you suck versus pressure, you need to play against somebody that's going to pressure the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? If you suck at wide open threes, go practice wide open threes. If you suck at dribble pull up, practice dribble pull up. If you suck at defense, work on defensive stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to watch the game and learn from the best in the world. Like, it's those things combined. How to get in the right state of mind mentally when injured. I think you got to understand, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, when I got injured, I understood it just wasn't the end of the world. It's like, okay, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be fine. And I think the best advice I ever got was from my mom. And she was like, you know, basketball will always be there for you. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you get hurt. It doesn't matter if things don't go well. You can still play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, think about, I'm 31 right now, right? I started training seriously when like my first basketball team was when I was 10. I'm 31 right now. Basketball is still there for me. I played open gym last week. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted to, I could sign up for a combine or something like that, or like a exposure camp if I want to. I could go try out for the G League if I want to. Basketball hasn't gone anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing you got to understand is like no matter what's happening, basketball does not go anywhere. It's going to exist. There's a ball in my room. I could have that ball until I'm 80 years old. There's going to be a hoop somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like basketball just does not go away. And once you understand that, it gives you a better perspective of like, okay, I just got to get through this and then I'll be back to playing again. You know, it's just having perspective on what's important and realize that it's not like life and death situation when there's, you know, people starving all over the world. There's people in concentration camps like right now today. And so once you understand that, it's like, okay, this shit is kind of meaningless, you know, and it's easier to just get past it. How to mentally get more aggressive when attacking the rim. You got to play one-on-one, bro. Like playing and consciously, you have to consciously play. So a lot of people like to say, oh, you shouldn't be thinking and you should just play off your instincts. And it's like, okay, if your instincts suck, if your instincts tell you to shy away from contact, maybe you should consciously think. You know what I mean? Like I hate when people say, oh, just play off your instincts. It's all instinct. Like instincts are trained based on experiences and learning from those experiences and being taught. And so if you suck at going to the basket, be conscious and aware enough to go play open gym and pick up and one-on-one and being like, I'm going to practice going to the basket the entire time consciously. And so like, that doesn't mean you have to plan out a move, but you can like consciously try shit. Like I used to consciously be like, okay, I'm going to try this in and out. I just want to see if it works. So I go down and I'm like, bam, let me see. Okay, it worked. So like, I hate the people that say, you know, I just don't like the notion of you never have to think. It's like you have to think. You have to earn the right to not think. Like at some point, you got to have some thoughts going through your mind to analyze what's going on. You can't just play unconsciously the entire time or you're never going to grow. And so once you become conscious of what you're doing, then it's like, okay, like LeBron, to people, like think about LeBron, right? He's not necessarily thinking all the time, but he probably is. He's just he's not overthinking. He's just conscious of like, I'm going to go to the post every single time and I'm going to bully this player, right? And it doesn't always go exactly as planned, but he's conscious of what he's about to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I'm about to go over here and set up this pick and roll and then I'm just gonna read it accordingly. Like that's the thinking that I'm talking about. It's not like this shit ain't just pure instincts. You know what I'm saying? I don't like when people say it's pure instincts. It's not pure instincts. It's conscious thought. And then once you decide, after you have conscious thoughts of like, and conscious decisions, then it's instincts based on what happens after your initial decision. And so it's like, I can come down, and if I have a mismatch on somebody that has slow feet, it's like, okay, I'm going to set him up with a hezzy and I'm going to blow by him. Once I make that decision to blow by him, then instinct starts to take over, like, oh shit, he pushed me. And it's like your instinct starts to get yourself on balance, and then you throw it up because the help starts to come across. It's not just like pure instincts, bro. You have to be conscious and aware of what you're doing first. Like instincts come at the right time. And so don't feel like you should just never think. That's the wrong way to approach it. You know, like you have to have some type of conscious thought. The best players have conscious thought, but they just don't overthink. They think and then they decide. How can I start making shots off the dribble? That's a self-answering question. Practice making shots off the dribble. So if your question is so literal, it's like, how do I get better at this thing? The answer is in the question. Do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no tricks to it, bro. And watch the best people in the world do it. How do you build your fundamentals? I think it starts with being taught. And the fundamentals, like, I'm trying my best to have the best explanation. You know what I mean? I swear to you, I am. Like every day I try to refine what fundamentals are, because it's kind of vague in a way. But I know that fundamentals is how you do something. So you have to focus on how you do everything. And so don't think of fundamentals as like, okay, 2-hand chest pass. Like, no, that's a basic, that's just a basic action. It's when you take an action, how do you do that action to the best of your abilities? And so when you go into a one dribble pull up, are you going in low? You know what I'm saying? Is your rip through good? Did you travel when you started that move? You know what I'm saying? Like those are the questions that you need to start asking yourself on every action. So it's like when you're getting a rebound, okay, how was my positioning? Did I box out? Did I jump to the rebound? You know what I'm saying? Did I bring the ball down after I rebounded? Like those are the fundamentals. And so it's how you do things. That's the best way I can explain it. And it's to learn the how, it's literally watch the best players in the world. And so if you want to learn how to catch and shoot threes, watch the best catch and shooters. And okay, he's always ready. Okay, his base is always solid. Oh, his hands are always up before he catches it. Okay, he always holds his follow through. Like that's what fundamentals are. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, same thing when doing a layup. It's like, oh, okay, when he's going to get pressure, oh, okay, he holds the ball in this position so it doesn't get stripped. Oh, okay, when he gets the rebound, he keeps the ball above his head. It's like those are the things. You know what I'm saying? It's the cliche shit, but you have to figure that out within everything. And I think it's tough, man. I'm gonna try to make like a full fundamentals playlist or something. I'm trying to my goal is to compile them all to where it's like, okay, if you're being denied the ball, how do you catch the ball when someone's denying you, right? How do you catch it under a press? Like, how do you pass out of a press? Like, I'm gonna try to compile all of those different things. I'm gonna try my best and then make it into like one playlist. So if people have questions about fundamentals, I want to have as many scenarios as I possibly can in that playlist. And so then it's just like I can see it in my mind, but I just have to, you know, execute on it. But that's my thoughts on fundamentals. How do you improve your finishing? I think you pick one finish and you do it 100 times in a row, and then you pick another finish and you do that 100 times in a row, and then you keep doing that over and over and over with all the finishes that you need. You know what I'm saying? And don't just do frivolous finishes that you don't, that you're never going to use. Actually think in the game of like, okay, I struggle with this specific finish. When I go right and they push me a little bit and I try to shoot it underhand from this spot, I miss it every time. Practice that. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like over time, you'll start to be in that scenario enough to where you can execute on it. But it's practicing the literal thing that you struggle with. Like be so exact. You have to be literal with your training. I think that's the thing that people make a mistake of. They're not literal enough with their training. And it's like, it's down to the spot. It's down to the exact shot. So if you're going left and you're on the block and you come to a jump stop and you shoot it with your left hand and you miss that every single time, but you can get that shot off every single time. It's be so literal to go and practice that. So then when you get in that situation, you'll start to make it. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it is. And then I think after that, it's just in your mind. So this is another thing too. You have to play against an imaginary defender. And like, I don't just mean like, okay, there's a fake defender in front of me, I'm going to pretend to do it on this person. It's like, no. What would it feel like if a person was actually guarding you? Like, I challenge you to do this. Like, you could probably do this right now while you're watching. If you stand up right now, literally imagine that there's somebody standing in front of you and like what that would actually feel like to you. Don't think about having to make up some fictitious person in your mind of like, okay, let me see if I can create an image of somebody. It's like, no, create the feeling of what it would feel like if there was a person right in front of you. You feel a difference. Like, things change. You know what I'm saying? Like do it right now. Literally, like, just look to the side, stand up if you got to, and imagine that. Pretend you're holding the ball. Imagine there's a defender on you and what that actually feels like. And if you can do that, then you can practice against somebody all the time. That's the trick that a lot of people don't know. Like, that's a real thing. Like, I used to do that all the time. I used to feel as if somebody is literally about to block my shot and I can get it off right here. And so when I do it against somebody that's actually for real, there is no difference. I've been playing against people this entire time. There's never been 1-on-0. There's always been a person on me. You know what I'm saying? And so once you can do that, you'll see a difference in your training. And so then when it's like, okay, I'm going to practice my one dribble pull up, but in my mind, I'm going to create the feeling as if there's defense on me. Like, I used to do that experiment with some of my students. I'd be like, go do a full speed layup and pretend someone's about to block it. And they would go in and miss and be like, damn, that shit did feel like somebody was going to block it because I created that feeling of what that feels like. And so you have to do that with all of your training. That's going to change the game in your training. Like, literally, I promise you. Like, just try it. Okay? That's a gem right there. I got to cut that up for y'all. But I think that's the answer, bro. Let's see if I missed anything. I just imagine Kawhi's next to me. I mean, you can, like, and the thing about it is you can always change it. Be like, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm playing against a taller defender. And, like, you can draw from your experiences. And so I know what it's like to be guarded by somebody that's small and quick. And so I just imagine, okay, what would work on them or what has worked on them. And so I practice that way as if I'm playing against somebody that's small and quick. And then it's like, okay, I played against people that are tall and a little bit slow-footed, but they're good at blocking shots. And it's like, okay, if I had to, how am I going to beat this person? And I imagine, okay, if I drive left and I beat them by a step, what are they probably going to do? They might jump and try to block it. So then what's my finish? It's like, oh, okay, I might go inside hand, or I might shield them off with my body. And it's like you start to play those scenarios based on your experiences, also based on like what you watch. If you watch basketball a lot, it's like, okay, this scenario happens often. I can, like, in my mind, I could just imagine a pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I came off the screen. I can feel it metaphorically, like on my shoulder. I just rubbed off the screen. The dude's in drop. I'm shooting this. Like, you got to create the feelings of the scenarios that happen most often, and then practice within that. And that's the unlock to everything. How do you deal with your mental when you mess up or get yelled at and playing ball and coaching? I think you just got to move on, bro. Like, I think a lot of you dwell too much on the things that happen. It just is what it is. You miss. Okay, bet I got to play defense now. Oh, I got scored on. Okay, bet we got to go play all offense now. It's just like, just keep it moving, bro. Like, you got to learn how to keep it moving. I think that's that's the biggest thing. It's like, don't get caught up in emotion. Just catch yourself and be like, okay, it's not. You have to understand that it's not that big of a deal by just widening your perspective and just knowing that you're gonna play basketball for a lot longer than you think, or you just have another game the next day. Just always realize, like, there's the next day. Even though a lot of people say, oh, the next day is not guaranteed. I would say just count on, being able to play tomorrow. And just learning and growing, How to study film. I think when you're studying film, it depends what you're trying to get out of it. And so there's like different ways to watch it. I think for one, like, you might be player focused. And so it's like, okay, how does Steph Curry score? How does he get shots off? And then you just focus on that. But then there's other details of like, okay, how do I do this whole team concept thing? It's like cutting. Okay, why did this person cut? You have to ask why, and you have to ask what if. I think those are the two things that will help you figure out what's going on when you're watching film. If you're trying to study it, it's like when somebody shoots a shot or makes a decision, be like, why did they do that? And how did they do that? And then what if they did this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if they went left instead? Would somebody have helped? And it's like, I think that's the best way to kind of approach it. But it really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. It's just you have to ask questions and you have to figure out, why did they make this decision? What were they looking at? You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the type of things that you want to ask while you're watching. And then you kind of build it from that. What are my goals with basketball? As a coach, I always like throw out goals randomly, like that are somewhat vague, of like, oh yeah, I want to coach Nebraska and win a national championship. Like, it's a goal, but it's not like I'm not stuck on it. I think for me, I just want to do this every day. Like, genuinely, it's like I just want to coach every day. Like, my dream scenario is like being able to coach practice every day. I want to coach practice. Like, even when I'm training students, I'm getting to a point now, it's like I don't want to do skills and drills all the time. It's like I want to get 10 kids together, whether they play on the same team or not, and then we're going to run our training sessions like practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, but my practices, it would be the same as if I did have a team, because like I teach my players how to go one-on-one when I coach a team. It's like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to attack your defender. I'm going to teach you how to deny one-on-one. We're going to do small-sided games. Like, the same thing I do in training is the same thing I would do in practice. We're warm up with ball handling and footwork. Like, I don't change what I do when it comes to training. Like, I approach my training as a coach. So there's some times when I have three or 4 kids in the gym, we're working on rebounding. Like, show me a training session with a trainer where it's y'all are working on boxing out. We are working on passing it out of traps. That's practice shit. You know what I'm saying? And so I do that at my training. And so I think for me, I just want to do that every day. Like, as far as who I'm doing it for and where I'm doing it at, that's not as important to me. I think I just want to teach as much and as many students as possible. Like, when I really think about what my actual goal is, it's like, yes, I have all these things. Like, I want to have a huge academy and, I want to travel to different places. But like, when I'm actually teaching the game, it's just like, I just want to teach the game, bro. Like, I swear to you, that's my goal, is to teach basketball every day that I can, and like actually run practice every day, and then be able to coach games as much as possible. Like, those are the things that I enjoy most, is developing players through those 3 things, like coaching and then coming up with strategies like, oh, let's run this offense, or let's change our defense, or how am I supposed to sub when we got a mismatch and it's like, damn, I messed up last game, I should have went small. And like that's fun for me. I watch basketball for fun. There's like, I'm watching the WNBA finals from 2014 on my story from last night. It's like, I do that shit for no reason. You know what I'm saying? I've done that my whole life, of just watching random basketball games. And so that's like like that, like, it's making me happy right now just thinking about it, because like that's all I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? It's just that. And then outside of that, there's a lot of other shit I like to do outside of basketball as well. I have a lot of interest, but that's the main thing. How do I know what skill level I'm at if I'm not on a team, but I work on my game every day? The only way you'll know is playing against people. You have to go to a pickup run. You have to play one-on-one. You have to gauge yourself against the level of competition. And so the thing that I think, the way I was able to keep my confidence through a lot of ups and downs, and like times I wasn't playing or times I was on a lower team or all these other things, was the people that were ahead of me, I could still beat some of them. I could still compete with them. You know what I'm saying? So I never felt as if like I was just being dominated at any point. It's like, okay, I was a freshman. Like, I was literally, remember being a freshman going to workouts, and it was only me and one other player, and he was a senior. I was beating him one-on-one, and he was a varsity player. And so it's like, okay, I'm on the freshman team this year, but I can beat varsity players. And so it's like, I don't know. I think it's just, you got to play against people all the time and start to gauge yourself. And then once you like dominate a certain level of competition, move up to the next one. It's like, okay, I beat the people in my school. Let me go play against other people at other schools, or let me go play in this tournament. I played in a lower, bronze bracket tournament. Let me play on a team that plays silver. Let me play on a older team. Like, let me play against the old men at the courts downtown or some shit. Like, it's just going different places and playing different people and asking them like, yo, do you play college or do you play here? And like, once you figure out where they played at and how you did against them, then it's a good, it's a solid gauge of like whether you need to work on certain things, or this was successful, or it's like, okay, I can run with these people, or I can shoot as good as him and he plays here. It's like those are the type of things, it's just getting so much experience that you have a level of understanding of where you're at. And so like that's the same thing as when I went to college. It's like, oh shit, damn, 10 of the people or 10 or 15 of the kids that I went to college with, damn, they play professional. Or he played in this country and like I played open gym with these people all the time. And so it's like, that let me know it's like, okay, I can be a professional. I'm not a professional, but I can be. I just got to do these things or this. Even though I didn't know the real, off the court route of how to do that. It was the fact that I got to play against these people consistently and work out with them and know that, okay, he's making these type of shots and workouts and he's making 5-10 in a row. I can do the same thing. It's like, okay, like I could see myself being able to do what they're doing. I just need the opportunity, or, I need to figure out how to get there. It's like, it's just that, bro. Yeah, I just practice as if like someone's very close to blocking me. But then I also played against people who are like a lot of times very close to blocking me. And so like it was real whether I was practicing it in my mind or not. Like I played against people who are really good at defense, and it's like, damn, they almost stripped me, or like everything is this fucking close contested, so I got to be perfect or they strip me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it was. Thoughts on training in season? I think just do whatever you got to do to stay sharp. For me, I didn't really change much. Like my workouts were a lot harder than games. Like this is what I always tell people. Like I really did work harder than the game. So when I got to the game, I'm like, okay, I can run. You know what I'm saying? I can do these things. It's like, I don't know. It just depends on you. It depends on your tolerance. It's like the people that want to do 6 hours a day. It's like if you've only been doing 1 hour a day, you can't just go to 6. You're going to fuck your body up. And so for me, it's like I started low. Like, yes, at some point I was able to work out for 5 hours in a row without hurting myself on a consistent basis. But I started at 2, and then I went to 3, and then I went to 4, and then I went to 5. It's like I didn't just make this big ass jump. It's just I got my body more healthy, more in shape, stronger, all these other things. And then like that allowed me to work out more. So the more you work on your body, the more you can work on the court. Body comes first. Is playing AAU a necessity? Depends. That's a tough one, man. Because I think social media is so big now that you can like play in most places, and you gotta get the film. That's the number one thing, bro. Like I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? At a young age, it's like, oh, I should have got every single one of my varsity games and made like a little thing, even though I probably didn't have like, the best highlights in the world. I had something. You know what I'm saying? There's games where I hit shots or I did things defensively. Like my goal, the funny thing I used to do in high school was like I would try to block the tallest player on the team all the time. I was just like in my mind, I would just like look over and be like, okay, this dude's 6'7", I'm about to block his shit this game. Like I would literally try that. You know what I'm saying? And so I probably would have had some of those, but I think just get your film, post it on social media. I made a full strategy on my YouTube of like A to Z. This is what you need to do to promote yourself to get recruited. So is AAU necessary? No, but I would play it because then you get to play against different levels of competition. So you have to know when you play for that team, who are they going to play against? Like, are they playing against varsity players? If so, then get that. Yeah, go do that. Like traveling isn't always the thing. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to travel though. I want to travel. It's like, bro, you can't even beat the players in your state. What the fuck are you traveling for? You know what I mean? It's like you can't even beat the dude that goes to this small town school. It's like you need to play against them this summer. You know what I'm saying? Before you think about traveling. The only AAU that's worth traveling for is like if you're going to be in a circuit where actual coaches are sitting and watching games. If you're just traveling to some gym in the middle of fucking Wyoming, like it's meaningless. You know what I'm saying? You might as well just play where you're at. Like, and obviously it's fun. It's fun to play against different people, but 9 times out of 10, you probably haven't played against everybody in your state yet. And so I would start there and then maybe travel to the next state over. I think it all depends, man. A lot of things just depend. I'm watching the Suns Blazers. Scoot got tint on his on his glasses. I swear he has tint. It must be from the top lights. What would you do if your point guard scores more and is more aggressive than your shooting guard? I don't even know how to answer that, bro. It just depends, bro. Like, it just depends. You know what I'm saying? Like, like coaching strategy depends on what the other team is doing. Like, there's literal times where I'll go into coaching a game and I have no strategy of how we're going to beat this team. 9 times out of 10 is because we don't get to scout the teams that I coach against. And so I'll literally tell my players, it's like, okay, we're going to play man and we're going to run this, and then I'll figure it out as we go. I tell them that in the huddle. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm an adjuster. I'm not like, this is the game plan. We're going to stick to the game plan no matter what. Like, if some shit's not working in the first 5 minutes and I find one thing that's working, I will fucking scrap everything and we'll do that one thing until it burns out. You know what I'm saying? Or if I find, like, there's times where it's almost halftime and I know I need to switch strategy, but it's like, okay, I'm going to wait till halftime. You know what I'm saying? I'll live this last minute, 2 minutes out, and then I'm going to switch my entire strategy. You know, I'm an adjuster at the end of the day. Like, I make adjustments of, we need to do this, and this is what they're doing. They suck at this. We're going to do this instead. I might drop an offense that we've never practiced and say, run this. That's my approach to coaching. Like, I adjust. I think bad coaches suck ass at adjusting. So I'd rather practice adjusting as much as I can for when I need it. I feel like I'm more of a pass first point guard, but sometimes that makes me have low scoring numbers. I think you care too much. I'm a pass first player. Like, even though I had a lot of teams that I played on where I had to score, I am a pass first player. Like, I don't mind passing the ball ahead 10 times in a row. I don't mind going into the lane and dropping the dish off to the big man. Like, I'd rather do that. I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like creating for others, but I can also score. So I think it's just you play the game, bro. I don't think you try to do one or the other. I think you just play and do what matters in the moment. And stop caring about the numbers. The less you care about the numbers, the easier it is to get them. I think a lot of people think that if you don't care about something, then you can't get it. Like, for me, it's like, in my entire life, bro, I've never cared about, like, having a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? But I just know I'm going to get it. It's like the fact that now, literally, this is the first month. Like, I'm doing this full time. I'm not doing any other jobs. I'm about to call up the people that I used to drive for and tell them I don't want any more routes. This is it. So, but I'm not rich off this shit. It's just like, I can do this now. You know what I'm saying? And so I know the fact that I'm able to do what I love, it's going to create more money for me or whatever it is. But it's like, I've never cared about that. And so you don't have to care about something in order to have it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about something in order to make it not happen. So you don't have to always worry about, like, for me, I'm scared of car crashes. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just went and drove on straight ice. Like, where I live, it's straight ice outside. You know what I'm saying? But I drive on it. I don't sit and worry about, what if I crash? What if somebody hits me? It's like, okay, I just go and do the thing. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about it all the time or care about it all the time to prevent it from happening or to make something happen. I think that's the thing that a lot of people make a mistake of. It's just like, do you believe something can happen? And are you doing the actions in order to make the thing happen that you want? As long as you're doing the actions, it don't even matter. You don't even have to believe. You just have to do the actions. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, like, there's a distinction I always make as, you don't have to believe something will happen. You have to believe it can happen. And so it's like, for me, it's like, if I got up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my body right and I'm gonna try to go pro in some country, I don't have to believe it can happen. I just have to believe it will. If you believe it, or no, my bad, flip that. I don't have to believe that I will be a pro. I just have to believe that I can be a pro. That will produce enough energy for you to do the actions. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about it. And so not worrying, worrying doesn't produce results. Caring doesn't produce results. It's action that produces results. Did I explain what the basic shots and moves are? Okay, so this is, I did see this. The way to know what the basics and moves and shots are, I want you to do this experiment. So for any of you wondering, like, okay, what are basics? What are fundamentals? I want you to watch 10 basketball games. Maybe I should say 20, but watch 10 basketball games from all levels and just write down what things happen most often. And so write down, okay, they threw I wouldn't even go that granular, like post entries, right? There's 1,000 post entries, or there's 1,000, passes out of the trap. It's like, every time you see somebody pass it out of a trap, mark a tally. Every time you see somebody shoot a shot, write what kind of shot that was. And then if that shot happens again, tally it. It's like, okay, catch and shoot, tally. Oh, another catch and shoot, tally. Oh, okay. One just full court layup on a fast break. That's one. Oh, and then you'll start to see that like the game is way more basic than people make it out to be. It's like, oh, there's way more basic layups than you would imagine, but you don't know unless you're conscious and counting it out. You don't realize that, oh, he only scored off one dribble 4 times this game. It's like when you're watching. I'm watching Kevin Durant right now. He ain't doing nothing crazy. Like they just set a pick and roll. He swung it to the corner, and then the dude with that got the ball just he made one move and went to the basket. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get in his bag and all this goofy shit. He did one because on a high level basketball you get 30 seconds, bro. And then by the time you cross half court in college, it's like, okay, now we're down to 24. I made the first pass, shit. Now we're down to 20. You got 20 seconds to do some shit. So you ain't gonna be getting your bag in 20 seconds. NBA, by the time you inbound that ball in the backcourt, 24 seconds. You cross 9 times out of 10, they cross half court in the NBA at about 18, right? So he crossed 18. They make that first pass, 15. So now you have 15 seconds to run your offense. It's like that's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? And so if you want to learn what basics and fundamentals and all these things are, like what things happen most often, is watch 10 games, watch a couple high school, watch some college, watch some overseas games, watch some NBA games, watch some women's games, and then be like, okay, in all these games, these are the things that happen most often. Those are the things that you need to understand more than anything else. It's like, oh, this team, I've watched, 40 traps happen, and this is how they got out of these traps, right? That's what it is. And so for me, I watch basketball for no reason, and so it's like I just understand these things based off just seeing it. So like I wish I could get people to understand. When I say I watch 20 full games a week, I'm not exaggerating. Like I'm watching this right now. What's the day? From yesterday to today, this is my 6th full game watching in 2 days. And so most people don't watch that many in 2 weeks. So that's how you learn. Watch. What moves are best for attacking the basket? Do the same experiment, bro. Watch the best rim attackers in the world and then chart their games of like these are the moves that they're doing. 9 times out of 10, no one's doing 6 different moves to get to the basket every single time. Like that's a rarity. More times than not, it's like, okay, they're doing the same 2 or 3 things. Like each player has their little things that they do to get to the basket. They might dress it up in the beginning by starting with 4 crossovers, but when it's time to attack, they do specific things. And so you have to watch those and understand that and then try it against people. My dream is to play professional basketball. What are some things that I need to know to do that? The best thing you can do is find somebody that's already done it and ask them. Like, I could give my theories about all these things about how you could go pro, but at the end of the day, like your path is going to be different, and so you need somebody that's been there and that can be like, yo, you should go play in this league. Like, you should transfer schools. You should, you know what I'm saying, go to this open gym over here. Like, you need somebody that's ahead of you to guide you a little bit. Like, I'm being dead serious. That's the best thing you can do because you can't do it by yourself. No one that goes pro did it alone. And so the best thing you can do is ask for help. The more you ask for, like, this is the thing I didn't do. I didn't ask for enough help. I asked for some help, but I didn't ask enough. I should have asked every fucking person I came across that had anything to do with basketball. I should have asked other coaches from other teams. Like, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, a little bit I am. But if I could do anything over, that's the one thing I would do is ask more people to help me. Literally. Somebody will help you the more you ask, bro. But you got to be serious about it first. If you're on bullshit and then you're asking people for help, they're not going to help you. So you got to get dead serious first of like, I want to do this thing and act like it. Then when you ask for help, people will take you seriously. Like, there's people who DM me all the time, all types of bullshit questions. And I'm just like, bro, you're not even serious. Like, why am I going to help you? You know what I'm saying? But then there's people I know that they're serious and I'll give them all the answers. So it starts with you, but then you also have to ask. And like for me, like you could ask me, but then at the same time, it's like I'm telling you to ask somebody else. So that's, you asked me, right? Now I'm telling you, you need to find people that are actually in that position in your area and ask them. There's a reason NBA players know each other. LeBron was 15 playing with NBA players. Kyrie was 15 playing with NBA players. KD was 15 playing with NBA players. All these dudes that go to the NBA, they already know each other before they get there. That's how they get there. That's the key to it, you know? What levels of pro are there? There's infinity, bro. That's like asking how many soccer leagues there are. You know? Like go on FIFA and scroll through all the 3-4 star leagues and teams and figure out what league they play in. Then you'll know. How do I perform consistently? Practice consistently. That's how. And have a routine. Routines are underrated. I have like infinity routines ingrained in my mind, but like there was, I don't know, like for me, I just figured different things out. Like I'm kind of obsessive where it's like the way my mind works is like if I do moves on the left side of the court, I have to do it on the right side of the court or else I feel imbalanced in some way. And so like the same thing when it came to shooting, it's like, okay, I'm not going to go from form shooting the threes. It's like, okay, I got to work my way out. Let me shoot the mid range. That's why I made that shooting chart of like all this different spots. I used to actually practice in those spots. Like, and it's not like I did it every single time, but it's just like I have certain, I have a lot of different routines. If I need a routine, that's just like right now, if I went to the gym, I would be in my mind, okay, I'm gonna go through this routine that I can kind of make things up on the spot too. It just comes with experience. But I think, to perform consistently, you got to work out and practice and do things in your life consistently. What's the best move that I can use when I catch the ball when I'm dribbling in every situation? That question doesn't make any sense. The best move you can do when you catch the ball, though, is square up. And there's not even a close second. And that's not even a move. That's just a fundamental. How do I stop getting nervous in games and forcing it? Experience. Like play so much 5-on-5, and you gotta stop separating it. The thing that people do all the time is they separate it. They think pickup is different than open gym, or that different than school practice, and it's different than the game. To me, it's all the fucking same, bro. Once you get that in your mind of every time you touch the basketball, it's the same. That's where you start to make the difference, and you're not nervous. Because like for me, if I look back of like, okay, when did I always play the best? I always played the best in actual games. And I'm not even kidding. Like, we're actually in the game. We're being coached. There's refs. There's the crowd. I feel like those are the moments where I played better in those moments than I did, on a combined sense, than I did in a lot of other moments. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say I played bad in any other situation or I never played bad in a real game, but it's just like if I had to gauge, it's like, okay, when there was real games and it mattered and I actually was trusted to play, I played good in those. Like I played good in games. I didn't, like I wasn't a player that was going to fold in a real game, and that doesn't mean like I didn't struggle or I didn't fail or I didn't mess up or, cost our team the game. Like I've done that before. But it's like at the end of the day, in a real game with coaches and refs and all that shit, like I felt as if I was at my best, because I think what happens is I'm always intense. And so the people that aren't always intense, they have to play against me. And so, and not say play against me, I should say they have to play in an intense environment and they're not used to it, and I am. And so I see, like, the thing about it is like the reason open gym clips don't matter to me or pickup clips or whatever is because I know in a real game you're not shooting that. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I've shot, a T-Mac fake drive spin fade from 15 feet in a real game. And so that's the difference maker of like, I know I can read people. Like, that shit on Dragon Ball Z where they put the fucking thing into the eye and like you can read people's power levels and it's like, and like all that shit. I can do that in real life. It's like I can look at people and I just know, I'm like, okay, yeah, you might play great here, but I know for a fact if you went in the game, I know you're not doing that. I could just see it. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's anything I've done at an open gym or in a one-on-one or in a pickup, I'm willing to do that in the game 1,000%. And so that's the difference maker. But the only reason I got to that was like 90% of the time that I played basketball, I was playing for real. I wasn't playing bullshit games. I wasn't playing bullshit one-on-ones. Like I'm playing for real all the time. So then it's just like, if you're playing for real and you're not being coached, then, you can try more shit. And so then when the real situation happens, you've tried the things that you want to do in a real situation, whether you're being coached or not. You know what I'm saying? That the feeling of, okay, this person's playing 100% intensity, that's not new to me because I do that all the time. I play against that person all the time. That's 100% intense with me. And that's how you make the translation. And that's how you stop being nervous and realize it's all the same. It don't matter. You know, but then it's like, there's other things that go into it. Like, are you scared of the fans? Are you scared of, like, I'm not scared of being judged. I'm really not. There's a reason I make my page, my face is on the internet every day. I'm not scared of being judged. You know what I'm saying? But that's from real life. Like, I can't fake this. You know what I'm saying? I can't fake not being scared of judgment. You know what I'm saying? That comes in the game too. Are you scared of being judged by your coach? Are you scared of being judged by your teammates or your opponents or the fans? Like, I'm not, bro. I'm just not scared of being judged. And I think that's a real difference maker. What are your thoughts on reclassifying and how do you fix it? I don't know what you mean by how do I fix it, but reclassing, I think at this point, the way everything is going, because the transfer portal is like the fucking wild, wild west now, you're better off just going to college and just going on a level you can play at and then transferring after that, a gear film and transfer. Like, I think that's because the high school players are going to be less valued than the people that are transferring around. And if you're not like a top 100, like, you know, or if you're not making a stamp or you don't have like real skills that you can apply immediately, you're lower than, you know, a 50% transfer portal rate. Like, half the kids that play college basketball end up in a transfer portal. I think that's the stat. Are you better than half of college basketball? You know what I mean? Like, reclassing isn't going to help you do that. And so I think you might as well just fucking go to a college, bro. I'd say only I don't know. I don't know any scenario where I'd want to reclass. I really don't. Like, you're basically like, let me get a redo against the same competition after I had my chance already. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see the value in it. I really don't. Maybe I don't know enough, but I genuinely just don't see the value in it. You might as well go to college, bro. Like, especially if you're good enough. Like, even though my senior year of high school, I think I came off the bench at first. I started the season hurt, so I came off the bench. And then I started for a little bit, and then I went back to the bench. But, like, through all of that, it was like, I knew I was good enough to play college basketball regardless of what was happening. And so, like, the thought of reclassing based on that scenario just doesn't make sense. Even knowing what I know now, like, if I were to look at my own situation objectively, and I still wouldn't reclass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't see the value in it. I'm in a JUCO right now, and I'm playing a position that I wouldn't play at the next level. When it comes to playing a position that you don't think you'll play at the next level, I think you got to, one, prove to yourself that you can play a different position by just like open gyms and different things and pick up and different things like that. Like, can you survive in a pickup game with other college players or high school players that are play varsity or whatever the situation that you're in? Can you survive in that environment playing the position that you want to play? So, like, a lot of people, I want to be a point guard, but, like, could you go to a pickup game and play point guard right now against intense competition? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't be asking your coach to put you in some shit you can't even do. And so you have to go prove it to yourself first. And then after that, I think you got to make sure if you leave in schools, you have to tell other people, like, yo, this is my position. I know I'm 6'6" and I can rebound the shit out of the ball, but it's like, I'm a point guard. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when I think back of, like, why were coaches trying to put me at power forward and center and shit all the time? It's because I was good as fuck at rebounding. It really is. Like, I'm really good at rebounding. And so that made them think that I need to be around the basket. And it's like, no, I can shoot. You know what I'm saying? I can play out here. And I call it the water. Like, the guards area, I call it the water. Because, like, if you're not good as a guard and you struggle with pressure, like, you'll drown out there. So I can play in the water, bro. But I think that's the thing is, like, you got to prove it to yourself. And you got to tell the coaches, this is the position I play. And don't take no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not going to play me at this, I'm out. But some coaches might trick you, so you might fluke up and they'll be like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then you get there and you're fucking playing the 4. So That can happen, but I think just be super clear and upfront about the position that you are, and know that you can do it and prove it to yourself every day. How do I get better stamina and bounce at the same time? Run and jump, boy. It's self-answering question. You can lift weights and do, body workouts and cardio in the same day. Don't be tricked into thinking you can't. That's what I think. A lot of people get tricked into thinking you can't do a lot of shit at the same time. It's like, no, you can do everything at the same time, bro. Just don't work yourself into a point to where you'll get hurt. What is the difference between someone who is more talented and someone who is less talented? I don't even understand that question. I think that's a self-answering question. What do I do about playing the wrong position? I just answered that for the second time. What drills would you use to get incredible touch around the rim? There is no drills. Do the exact finish that you want to get better at 1,000 times and watch what happens. It's the consistency of doing the same thing for years. A lot of you want to hear, oh, I'm going to do this thing for 25 days and I'm going to be great. Do the same thing for years. How do you get better at attacking the rim and then maneuvering through help to finish? Man, I swear I'm not trying to be an asshole, but y'all are asking self-answering questions. What do I mean by that? Read the question as a statement. How do I get better at attacking than maneuvering through help to finish? Attack and maneuver through help, and watch people that are good at it and try to do what they do. I think watching and learning is like a staple, bro. I'm telling you right now, if you cannot watch and learn, you're going to struggle. If you have to be taught and told everything, you're going to develop a lot slower than a player that watches. The reason I developed really fast at a young age, I could watch and then I could go and do. That's the same thing the people you watch every night do. They can watch and then they can do. The people that have to be walked through everything, they develop so slow. By the time they learn it, they're just so fucking behind. Like, it's just that simple, bro. What's the most important skill? IQ. IQ will solve 80% of your problems on the court. You know what I'm saying? There's players like, why is Kyle Anderson in the league? Why was Joe Ingles in the league? Why was Brian Scalabrine in the league? You know what I'm saying? Like, being having a good IQ trumps everything. Like, if you're not a smart basketball player, it doesn't matter what skills you have. I don't give a fuck if you can shoot. If you're not aware enough to make the right pass on a full court trap, I can't put you in the game. If you're not aware enough to know how to, move yourself and help defense and get in positioning for rebounds, or, as soon as you touch it to make a quick outlet because it's convenient in the moment, like, I cannot help you, bro. It's like being smart trumps everything. And I think that's what I'm going to end it with. Is like, you're new to my channel. Yeah, I go live every Sunday, bro. I appreciate you joining in. I go live every single Sunday. The replays are on my podcast and YouTube. So the replays are around. I chop them up and I put them on here. But just dig through a little bit and you'll find everything that you need to find. I appreciate you. And to increase your IQ, it's watch and play for good coaches. Like, watch and listen to, bro, the most underrated thing, listen to the commentators, bro. Commentators are former players 9 times out of 10. And so they'll be, especially time and score situation, they'll be like, okay, you should probably foul right here. Or, oh, why'd you dribble when you got trapped? You should have passed it out. Like, the commentators they'll tell you whether or not, good decisions are being made on the court. If somebody throws a dumb pass in their mind, they'll be like, oh, they should have done this instead. You know what I'm saying? And, like, the only thing they usually debate about is, like, whether to foul up 3 with a few seconds, which is like, I would never do that. But, other than that, like, the commentators in full games will tell you how to play basketball. Like, I think I learned that subconsciously because I watched so many games, and I'll just listen. I'll just hear him saying these things, like Mark Jackson, Van Gundy, Reggie Miller. Like, all these dudes were commentators. Like, Steve Kerr was a commentator. Doc Rivers was a commentator. And so, like, their minds, like, they talk basketball all the time. They're going to tell you certain things, like, oh, in this strategy, or, oh, this is what you should do in this scenario. That's kind of how you increase your IQ, and then just keep watching the games and keep picking it up. You know what I'm saying? And ask questions and all the types of things. But, yeah, I'm going to end it on that.